Hi everybody, this is Liz here from Zest Energy and Nutrition. I'm so happy to have you here on this webinar all about sugar cravings, the dreaded cravings and what we can do about them. So I'll get right on with it then. I am going to just switch over to the slide deck if you bear with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, so today we are going to look at the five real reasons that you could be craving sugar and what we can do about it. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch, and I hope you get plenty of tips from this training today. Okay, straight on in then. So this webinar is not going to be about how to lose umpteen pounds in a fortnight or any kind of quick fix or a faddy solution to your craving and any weight problems that you might have. If you're on this webinar, I'm probably right in assuming you've been there, done it and got the t-shirt, and you probably already know faddy diets ain't going to cut it. So I'm going to show you the little known reasons why you might be craving sugar. And I'm also going to show you how you can start fixing those issues today. So basically you need to work from the ground up and try to unearth why you're experiencing cravings. So what imbalances you might have going on, and we all have them to some degree. So we can also, I can also tell you what changes you can start making today to try and fix them. It's not going to be an overnight miracle solution, and it will require, some degree of commitment from you. Okay, so today I'm going to show you 5 surefire steps you can start to take to gain control of your cravings today. If you manage to find the time to fill out some of the questions in the workbook I gave you, that's great. It'll just give you some idea where to start with your investigations. And then hopefully things will become clear as we go through. But if you do have any questions, then do let me know sort of by email after this presentation. Okay, so today I am going to show you how you can avoid diets in inverted commas so you can actually lose weight and gain control of your eating. And I'm going to show you why weight loss is a battle if you don't know the reasons behind it. See, I see weight gain and cravings as a symptom of another condition. They're not simply a problem in and of themselves. So you won't solve things just by crash dieting or depriving yourself or any of those other horrible, torturous things. You need to find out exactly what you've got going on and fix it from there. So essentially, once you get your body back into balance, then miraculously your weight should stabilize, and along with it, your eating. Okay, so this training is for you if you've tried the said diets before and always end up back in the same place. So you're now sick of your clothes feeling tight, of your weight yo-yoing up and down, and it being masses of effort to lose weight, only to have it all go on again a few weeks later. This training is also for you if you want to eat healthily but you just can't resist sugary food and hate the taste of vegetables. I've heard this from clients before. They freak out about what they think I'm going to make them eat. So don't worry, you're certainly not the first. This training is also for you if you've just had a new baby and realised how much hard work it is. And if you don't do something to ramp up your energy, you will never be able to keep up. So maybe also you've got health niggles and they're starting to get a bit worse and they're starting to get you down, and you know that your diet is the key. So we're talking bad digestion, cramps, diarrhea, constipation, bad skin, rashes, allergies, energy slumps, cravings, PMT. The list goes on, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Okay, so if you've got your workbook in front of you, fantastic. Use it to take notes as we go through, and turn off your mobile and leave Facebook alone because it's too distracting. And, if you're really serious about wanting to make changes, the information I share here can, really have a good effect on you. So do try and concentrate on this if you can. Okay, so a little bit about me. I started to become interested in nutrition shortly after I had my first baby. To cut a long story short, I I'd been quite ill after I had her, and then as a result of the treatment, I ended up with low energy and a lot of weight gain. I felt really, really bad, and my weight really did balloon. And I just didn't have the energy to keep up with the demands of child rearing, really. And then after a while, I started to get into natural health and nutrition. And obviously, I wanted my child to eat healthily, so that kind of had a knock-on effect on me as well. And I'm sure if you're a mum too, you've had this kind of sudden realization that you could get away with being a tiny bit under the weather before you had a child, but now you've got one that, there's such hard work. It's a lot of effort to keep up with them, really. So you don't have time to loll in bed for hours with headaches or PMT or period pains or any of those other things that knock you out for a day or two. So after that, I got it, after I'd been interested in nutrition, things really did change for me. It was quite dramatic and drastic. I noticed a massive difference practically overnight when I improved my diet. So I was, really pleased about that. And so much so I started studying nutrition. And, I studied for about 4 years to get my nutrition qualification. And then I've been practicing for quite a few years since then. So, it's really not a special thing to do. I'm certainly not special. I managed to do it. Yes, it was a lot of work, but I did it, and I'm so glad I did now. So since I've become a nutritionist, I've seen quite a few clients since then over the years, and they're always really pleased with the results they get. So I'm also a member of the British Association of Applied Nutrition and Nutritional Therapy, which is the governing body for nutritional therapists. And I'm also a member of the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, which is the government's regulatory body for natural health practitioners. Okay, so moving swiftly on. Why cut down on sugar? What's the point? Well, as we'll see in a minute, there's much more to knocking sugar habits on the head than just losing weight. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But before we look into what you can really do to help yourself finally kick the sugar habits on the head, let's look at some of the facts and figures and issues surrounding sugar. Okay, so why cut down on sugar? Well, astonishingly, people who drink sugar-sweetened drinks have a massive 83% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And that is literally just attributed to sugary drink consumption. And that's not even considering any other sources of sweet food, which is scary, isn't it? I think that's really scary. Sugar can lead to a condition called insulin resistance, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, and metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes, as we said. So metabolic syndrome is like the collective term we use for when patients have high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat, mainly around the middle, high cholesterol and high triglyceride levels. So that's obviously to be avoided if you can. Multiple studies have shown that when people eat a lot of sugar, they put themselves at a really high risk of getting cancer as well. There are just 3 studies cited here, down at the bottom, but there are loads more, which really makes you think, doesn't it? It's not just about trying to lose a little bit of weight. So sugar and many other junk foods, they cause a massive increase of dopamine in our brains, dopamine being our reward and pleasure neurotransmitter, which gets stimulated after. It's what gets stimulated after you've taken recreational drugs or drunk caffeine or anything like that. It's the reward center in the brain. So this, gets stimulated far, far higher after eating sugar than anything you would ever be exposed to naturally. So if you have an addictive personality, you can really end up in hot water as far as sugar is concerned. Okay, because eating sugar doesn't satisfy your hunger. It makes you hungrier. So it's a double disaster if you happen to be addicted to it as well, because there's no off switch. So sugar not only makes you crave more of it due to its addictive nature, it also fails to satisfy hunger as it interferes with the hormones our body uses to signal when it's time to stop eating. when we've had our fill. Scary, isn't it? So why cut down on sugar? So studies coming through in recent years have demonstrated that saturated fat, believe it or not, is actually harmless. It is large amounts of the dreaded sugar that raise triglycerides, raise bad cholesterol, and also increase obesity. Okay, so you need to still avoid trans fats. So these are damaged fats you'll find in convenience baked goods, and anything containing damaged or sort of heated vegetable oils. But coconut oil, olive oil, things like that are absolutely fine to eat. Okay, and it's sugar. It's been identified as the cause of a lot of health problems rather than fat. At the moment in the UK, adults are getting 12.3% of their energy requirements from sugar, while children are consuming a whopping 3 times the level they should be, and we are starting them young. Okay, so the World Health Organization recommends we reduce our sugar intake to 5% of our overall energy intake. So this is equivalent to 7 teaspoons or 30 grams a day for an adult. Now that actually doesn't sound too bad, does it? It doesn't sound too bad to me. That sounds quite nice. So it's estimated that if people drop their sugar intake to 5%, so it's still the equivalent of 7 teaspoons, down from 12.3%, to which is what it is now, it would actually halt the rise in obesity. So it does sound pretty good. It sounds doable and not too painful or draconian. Now, this is the thing with sugar. The problem with sugar is that most of it is hidden. And most of the time, we don't even know we're consuming it. We've got no idea it's lurking there. Astonishingly, supermarket ready meals can contain up to 15 teaspoons of sugar. So if you remember, we're supposed to be aiming for 7 teaspoons of sugar a day. If you were to whip up your own meals at home, you'd be highly unlikely to feel the need to add 15 teaspoons of sugar to them. So if you have a little think about any sources and things you've jotted down on your worksheet, so how many of those could you realistically cut out? And that's already drastically reducing your sugar intake without too much effort. Okay, there are astonishingly 9 teaspoons of sugar in a can of soft drinks. So that's still 2 teaspoons more than we're meant to consume for an entire day. So if you're a can of Coke a day person, just knocking that habit over the head is going to have a potentially phenomenal health results for you. It's going to lower your risk of CVD, lower your risk of cancer, type 2 diabetes, and that's before you even get to the weight you're going to lose and how much better you're going to feel. And you can still enjoy the odd treat. Hooray! You don't really even need to be that strict with yourself, which is a real result. It doesn't need to be torture. And always remember, your food is meant to be enjoyable. It's one of the main great pleasures in life. Okay. So we've looked at the reasons why we should try and cut down our sugar intake and where the hidden sugar is lurking. So let's have a look at some of the reasons why we crave it so much, and more importantly, what we can do about it. Okay, let's talk about your hormones. So hormones are the body's messengers. They are secreted by glands around the body. So they're secreted by the hypothalamus, by the thyroid, by the ovaries, and they are how basically one part of the body communicates with the other. There are hormones controlling all the function of our body. So they control our metabolism, they control our behavior and mood, they control our appetite, and the one we're focusing on now, the hormones which seem to cause us the most headaches, literally, are the hormones that control our reproductive cycle. So as far as PMS is concerned, you're no doubt very familiar with the hormones estrogen and progesterone. So these are the key players in the menstrual cycle. And to avoid PMS symptoms, we need to keep these hormones at the correct level. Too much estrogen can result in symptoms such as breast tenderness, fluid retention, fibroids, endometriosis, and even some cancers, whereas too little estrogen can result in very bad PMS symptoms, missed periods, osteoporosis, and cardiovascular disease. Now, our modern diets tend to be very starch and sugar heavy, and these foods just don't give us the vitamins and minerals we need to keep our hormones ticking over as they should at the right levels. We'll look at that more in a minute. This leads not only to low energy and obesity issues, but it can disrupt our very delicate hormone balance. So think about the pressures modern women are under. We work for longer, we return to work pretty much as soon as we've had children. And as well, not often and not always, I know, but we usually take on most of the childcare and home life responsibilities. And I know there are dads out there who are very, very good, but a lot of the time it is women shouldering most of the responsibility. And these factors alone are going to use a lot of nutrients your food supplies, but it is also going to put a huge strain on your nervous system and elevate your stress levels. Okay, so in addition to everything the body needs to help keep us ticking over nicely with all the stresses and strains of modern living, it also needs to regulate our reproductive hormone cycle, which is preparing us for a potential pregnancy each month. So with all this going on, it's no wonder things have the potential to go a little bit awry at times. So we've got insufficient nutrients coming from the diet. We're under a lot of stress usually, or at the very least being very busy. And behind the scenes, our hormones are also preparing for a possible pregnancy. Okay, so we need to look at the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle, which is the second half of the menstrual cycle, so the bit that occurs after ovulation. So you can see from this chart where ovulation occurs. It's where estrogen, which is the red line on this chart, spikes and then drops down. And while at that point, progesterone levels, which are orange on this chart, start to rise, and then the estrogen levels rise again. So this can really disrupt your well-being, these hormone fluctuations. They can cause anxiety, irritability, depression, fatigue, cravings, insomnia, water retention, headaches, cramps, and breast tenderness. Blimey, that's a long list. However, no one knows the exact reason behind PMS, and there are likely to be multiple reasons. But it's definitely linked to hormones not doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing during the second half of the cycle. So either high estrogen and low progesterone, or high estrogen and high progesterone. So on this chart, either the orange line or the red lines being too high or too low. So these hormone imbalances are likely to cause blood sugar levels to become unbalanced, and along with it, the dreaded cravings and an increase in stress hormones. So actually you can think of hormones as being like a big bowl of soup. As the levels of one hormone either go up or down, it affects the levels of all the other hormones too. Remember how they control appetite, mood, stress levels, etc. So what can we do to keep this onslaught of debilitating symptoms at bay? Well, firstly, you need to keep your blood sugar levels stable, and this is doubly vital around PMT time. But how, I hear you ask? What can we do about it? So firstly, this is really important, make sure all your meals and snacks contain plenty of good quality protein as well as carbohydrate. So this slows the rate that the energy from the carb food, so an example of a carb food would be pasta, oatcakes, or rice, or bread, or something. So anything like that, you want to slow the rate at which that absorbs into your bloodstream. Otherwise, 2 or 3 hours later, your blood sugar levels are going to crash again. And it's that crash which will cause you to crave biscuits and sweets and what have you. Okay, so if you always include some good quality protein, which are listed here, that's going to really slow things down and really level out your blood sugar levels for you. Okay. So supplements. Vitamin B6 is often low in PMS sufferers, and so is vitamin D and magnesium. So if you're suffering with PMS, you may well find some relief if you take a good quality supplement designed for supporting women's health. So if you jot some of these brands down, you will probably find this alone will help you a lot if you take one of these. So that's Nutri, Biocare, Solgar, Lambert's, things like that. So you'd be either looking at a multi or a B complex. Okay, you could try either one of those. Also, soaking regularly in bath salts, believe it or not, is a really easy way to increase your magnesium levels. Magnesium being nature's tranquilizer, and probably the best way to take in magnesium is through the skin. Okay, so that's a really good way to relax. It also gives you a really good detox as well to boot, so that's a good one to make time for if you can. And women suffering from PMS have been shown to be vitamin D deficient. So when the sun's out, make the most of it. Most people need about 30 minutes with no lotion on in the midday sun in the summertime to make enough vitamin D. I mean, don't get burnt. You don't need third-degree burns or anything like that, but just 30 minutes will probably do most people. And obviously in the UK, the sun's appearances can be very sporadic. So when the sun's out, make the most of it. Okay, you can also get your vitamin D levels tested free of charge in the GP, which is generally a good idea before you start supplementing or anything. So if you try all that and nothing seems to help, or you feel your symptoms are getting worse, there are a few lab tests we can do to find out exactly what's going on with your hormone levels. So again, do get in touch if you'd like to inquire about that and how it can help you. Okay, so rolling straight along with reason 2 for your cravings, which is a yeast infection. Okay, so if you have an intestinal yeast overgrowth, Candida, which is a common one a lot of people seem to be familiar with, it can cause you to crave sugar and yeasty food like crazy, simply because that's what the yeast in our gut like to feed themselves with. So they will make you crave it. So especially things like wine and beer and cheese, you know, anything yeasty and sugary is what they like. So what causes yeast to grow out of control in our guts? We should naturally have a good balance of different yeasts and bacteria in our guts, but it's only a problem if the less desirable species, such as Candida, begin to grow out of control. That can cause us problems. So in a well-balanced gut flora, the good guys should keep the bad guys in check. We have loads of good bacteria in our guts, and we need to keep them healthy and happy, so they in turn will keep us healthy and happy. Sadly, once again, we need look no further than our modern lifestyles to see how things can get unbalanced. The dreaded stress, once again, has a huge impact on our gut flora and gut function in general. So you may have heard that the gut is actually known as the second brain. It has that, you know, it's that much of an impact on our emotional health. So how do you know if you're affected? So the most common reasons for having a Candida infection are having a history of contraceptive pill or antibiotic use, or indeed any pharmaceutical treatment really. Eating a high refined carbohydrate diet, so white things, white flours, pastry, white pasta, etc., and eating lots of sugar. Being exposed to a lot of pollution or experiencing a stress overload, for instance, is all going to impact your gut health. So the symptoms and signs are, if you have a yeast overgrowth, you may be experiencing some of these things. So you may get bloating, diarrhea, migraines, allergies, fatigue, a feeling of being hungover, feeling spaced out. So a lot of ear, nose and throat infections such as sinusitis, which is a common one. Mood swings, total inability to tolerate the smell of cigarette smoke or perfume. You may get PMS or thrush, or last but not least, more cravings. So if you're experiencing some of these symptoms and it's starting to get to you, or you've been diagnosed with IBS, or you're trying out some elimination diets such as FODMAPs and it's not helping, or perhaps only helping sometimes, the best place to start is with a fully comprehensive gut function test. But we can talk more about this later on. So what can we do about it? Well, the usual thing would involve taking anything from your diet which may be aggravating, for example, gluten. giving your immune system a good boost so it can help remove any of the nasties that you've got hanging around inside, and then replenishing your gut with some good new-friendly bacteria. So you get a lot of that in fermented foods like kefir and sauerkraut. So if you feel like your gut's in pretty good condition and you want to keep things ticking over nicely and avoid all the nasty symptoms typical of an imbalanced gut flora, make sure you've got plenty of these in your life. These are prebiotic foods. So these are what your bacteria need to keep healthy. So things like onions, leeks, garlic, slightly underripe bananas. So your friendly gut bacteria will really thrive and in turn keep you nice and healthy if you eat lots of these foods. Okay, so head on over to my website if you want to know how to make kefir and sauerkraut and what have you. I've got some recipes on there which you probably will find helpful. Okay, rolling right along. Reason 3 for your cravings. So another reason behind cravings is stress. And if left unchecked to get worse and worse, it can lead to a very debilitating condition known as adrenal fatigue. So the adrenal glands, these are small glands which sit on top of our kidneys and secrete hormones responsible for carrying out our stress response. So the main hormones involved here are cortisol, adrenaline, and DHEA. So our body's stress response is designed to keep us safe from danger, i.e. running from lions, not from sitting at our desks worrying, trying to meet a deadline. So if we continually overstretch our adrenal glands, eventually they'll be unable to produce enough of our stress hormones and we will start to suffer the effects. So common symptoms of adrenal fatigue include salt cravings, high levels of energy during the evening, which can really impact your ability to sleep, drinking lots of coffee or other caffeinated drinks, difficulty getting up in the morning, feeling tired throughout the day, inability to handle stress, low immunity, which leads to lots of colds and other infections. So getting insufficient sleep is a major factor in developing adrenal fatigue, and a problem most new mums are familiar with, I'm sure. However, short-term sleep deprivation shouldn't be too much of an issue, and the body should cope just fine. It's just more of a problem if it goes on and on. So when people have adrenal fatigue, they tend to wake up very groggy, even after a seemingly good night's sleep. And this is because cortisol helps us get going in the morning. And if our adrenals are compromised, they won't be producing enough. So at the beginning stages of stress, high levels of cortisol will be released. Unfortunately, after a while, that those levels aren't going to be maintained and they will start dropping off. Okay, so are you needing more and more caffeine to get through the day? Because this can be an indication that your adrenal glands are struggling. Not just 1 or 2 coffees a day, but having caffeine all day and really living for the next cup. And does the slightest thing stress you out? For example, do you burst into tears because you've got a parking ticket, or explode at your husband because he forgot to put the bin out? That can be another sort of sign of adrenal stress. So the hormone cortisol helps us deal with stressful situations. So if it's not being produced in sufficient quantities, your ability to deal with anything is going to be severely impacted. So the hormones produced by the adrenal glands also regulate how much fluid and minerals are excreted from our bodies. So again, if they're not working properly, we may end up excreting minerals we need through our urine. So there again, excessive urination can be a sign of adrenal fatigue. Okay, so cortisol also helps to regulate our immune system. So initially with stress, if your cortisol levels are high, this will suppress your immune response, whereas long-term stress resulting in low cortisol levels allows your immune system to run riot, so you can get allergies and autoimmune conditions. So what can we do about it to help ourselves cope with the stresses and strains of modern living? So with adrenal fatigue, again, we need to work from the ground up, as it's likely taken years to get into this position. So a lot of reworking of lifestyle and diet habits need to be, focused on. And there is no quick fix or pill to take. So we need to look at your diet, your lifestyle, your current and past stress levels, and kind of take it from there. And diet improvements are really fundamental to a lasting recovery. So look at the section on, you know, balancing your blood sugar and having plenty of protein in the diet and so on. So we can do really, really easy and inexpensive saliva tests to check your stress hormone levels and give a really clear picture as to what's going on with your stress levels. And from there, we can build a strategy using diet, lifestyle, and supplements to bring you right back into a state of health and to help you cope with stress more effectively in future. So rolling right along with reason 4 for cravings. The thyroid gland is a small gland that sits just below the larynx in your neck. So despite its small size, it's solely responsible for running the body's entire metabolism. So if the slightest problem occurs with it, the problems can be really far-reaching and very debilitating. Clients presenting with an underlying thyroid disorder will usually have symptoms like irregular periods, depression, anxiety, low energy, feeling cold all the time, especially in the hands and feet, very easy weight gain, and then extreme difficulty losing weight, constipation, low libido, lots of colds and infections, dry skin, and a general kind of slowing down of the body's functions. There are lots more symptoms with this, but those are like the main ones. So everything will generally slow right down to, you know, thought processes and speech and everything like that. It is thought that as many as 10 to 20% of all women may have hyperthyroidism to some degree. So do note, hyperthyroidism is where there's too much thyroid hormone. Hypothyroid is when there isn't enough thyroid hormone, and we are focusing on hypothyroid where there isn't enough. It's kind of starting to become widely considered now that the tests offered by your GP give quite a broad range of what's normal. So you can still, you know, be feeling really ropey, but your test results may come back as normal. But all is not lost. Because if you're still feeling iffy and you think you may have an issue with your thyroid and your tests have come back normal, you can do this really simple test at home, which will give you an indication whether or not something's amiss. And I've included the instructions for this in your workbook. So have a look at that if you're worried. Okay, so if you go down the conventional treatment route with your GP, you'll be given something like thyroxine, which is levothyroxine, which is a synthetic version of thyroid hormone, and you will feel better after taking this. But the trouble is, you won't be getting down to the root cause of the problem. Often thyroid issues are closely linked with adrenal problems and stress, so these will need to be addressed if you're going to get well again. So what about thyroid and cravings? Well, serotonin production is closely linked to thyroid function. So serotonin is another really, you know, is a feel-good neurotransmitter in your brain. It will help you feel really relaxed and happy. And this is why clients with a poorly functioning thyroid gland may present with feelings of anxiety and depression. So what can you do about it? Well, if you suspect a thyroid problem, you really need to speak to a professional. So either your GP or your alternative healthcare provider, or both, even, to get you feeling your best again. And so if you've been kind of researching thyroid health, you've probably come across goitrogens as being bad for thyroids, which they are when eaten excessively. So excessive consumption of raw veg such as broccoli, kale, cabbage, cauliflower, and spinach, for example, may cause thyroid problems. But it's not a good reason not to eat them. You can still lightly steam them and then eat them. It's just a problem if you're eating excessive amounts of raw goitrogenic vegetables. So you also need to avoid tap water. Always use filtered or glass bottled water, as the chlorine contained in tap water can really interfere with your thyroid function. Ditto kind of chemically household sprays and cleaners. The chemicals they contain can really interfere with thyroid function as well. So what can you do? So focus on foods high in iodine. Don't supplement iodine because that's not generally recommended in every case. But foods high in iodine, including seaweed, fish, and vegetables, they can really help you here. And also focus on foods high in the amino acid tyrosine. So tyrosine is present in foods which are rich in proteins, such as chicken, fish, and cheese. Your thyroid does need a lot of this to function properly. So here are some examples of some supplements that can be used to help with thyroid function. Although I wouldn't attempt to do this on your own, always work with a health professional to kind of address any kind of thyroid issue. That's just there, you know, so you can see there are options. So finally, again, it's just so important to get your stress levels under control. So maybe try something like some yoga or meditation classes. Okie dokie. Reason 5 for your cravings is insulin resistance. So you're probably familiar with the hormone insulin and its association with diabetes. So it's another hormone. It's secreted by the pancreas, which is a gland situated just behind the stomach. And it's mainly involved in how the body deals with the sugar or carbohydrate from our food. But in insulin resistance, our cells stop responding to insulin in the way they ought to, and they stop absorbing glucose from our blood. This causes the pancreas to release more insulin in an attempt to get the sugar from the blood and into the cells where it's needed for energy. This doesn't work, so you end up with very high levels of glucose and very high levels of insulin circulating in your bloodstream. If this goes on, your pancreas may become damaged and you may well end up with a type 2 diabetes diagnosis where the pancreas can no longer produce sufficient quantities of insulin. Okay, so insulin resistance can be seen as the main cause for type 2 diabetes. So what causes insulin resistance? So again, a high level of high intake of added sugar, a lack of exercise, and being overweight may lead to high levels of fats in the blood, which can disrupt the hormone signaling and stop the messages from getting around the body correctly. Okay, there's also another link with imbalance in our friendly gut bacteria again. There are a few tests your GP can run to test your blood glucose levels, but if you're very overweight and have the majority of your weight around the middle, the chances are quite high that you may have insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is the hallmark of metabolic syndrome, otherwise known as Syndrome X. The symptoms of Syndrome X are high blood pressure, high triglycerides, low HDL cholesterol, and high levels of fat around the middle. And as we've discussed, it's also a major precursor to type 2 diabetes. Okay, people who have insulin resistance have a whopping 92% increased risk of developing heart disease. So, in theory, this has all got to be really easy to avoid, hasn't it? But, yes, you just lose weight, you stop smoking, you stop eating sugar, and you exercise more. Easy? Not really. Because if you look at the issues we've just discussed, you can see that it's not going to always be so easy to make changes overnight if we don't actually know why we're getting these cravings and food addictions, etc. And we've discussed a handful of potential reasons here, but there are often many, many more possible underlying factors to consider. So anyway, what can you try if you suspect you may be kind of teetering on the brink of insulin resistance? So in addition to all the other info we've discussed here, why not try gradually increasing the levels of healthy fats in your diet and gradually decreasing the amount of high carbohydrate food you eat? Now, you don't need to go crazy and go low carb overnight, but why not try, say at lunchtime, some avocado, which is a great source of healthy fat, some oily fish and a salad. You know, that would be great instead of just, say, a chicken sandwich or whatever, because you're getting rid of the bread and you're replacing it with some nice fats and proteins there. or perhaps a fruit smoothie for breakfast instead of a bowl of cereal. So the trick with smoothies is to make sure you get plenty of healthy fats and protein again, so they keep you feeling nice and full. So again, avocado would be a great addition, and add some protein powder, or a couple of tablespoons of nut butter would be great and nice and filling for you. Or looking at dinner, how about using courgette instead of ordinary spaghetti? You can pick up spiralizers, really easy now to do this. Or just use your potato peeler to make some courgette ribbons and then have that with your normal pasta sauce. It's usually best to go slowly with this, as cutting down suddenly and drastically on your carbs can leave you feeling a bit weird. But I mean, it's nothing to worry about. It's just your body adjusting to new eating habits. But in any case, it's always best to make changes slowly. So look at one meal at a time. Say do lunchtime for a week or two and see where you're at, and then maybe try cutting out high carb foods from another meal, for example breakfast, and see how you go. I wouldn't cut down more than that though, as I'm assuming you're probably all new mums, so you're going to need a lot of energy. It would be a bit different, say, for retired people who don't have quite as much workload to get through every day. But if you're someone who's using a lot of energy, I would not really be cutting down on carbohydrate foods too drastically. Okay, so what do you think? Improvements to your diet and lifestyle can have a serious impact on your well-being and outlook. It's worked for me, it's worked for my clients, and it can work for you too. You've heard 5 huge reasons why you may be craving sugar, and heard some diet and lifestyle tips that can really help to turn things around for you. So hopefully you've noted some changes as well that you can start to make today. But there may be plenty more going on, and it would be, as I say, impossible to cover all the possible reasons here. But remember my story from the beginning of the webinar. When I first started on the road to better health, it wasn't all plain sailing, trust me, but with a lot of hard work, study and trial and error, I got there. And if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it too. I'm confident that you can. So perhaps I could go into now how I can help you achieve your health goals if you know it's now time for you to start making changes. So you have a choice. You can take what you've learned today, apply it, and find your own way in time. Or you can do it much more quickly and confidently through working one-to-one with me. I've shared a lot of value today, but it's really only a piece of the whole picture. And the fast path to the results you really want is going to be to really get to the bottom of what you have going on. And it is scary to take the first steps towards making changes. But if things haven't worked out for you in the past, it makes sense to try something new now. So my total body and energy transformation for new mums is the ultimate shortcut to helping you get to the bottom of and remedying your wellness issues. So the total body and energy transformation for new mums is for you if you want to finally get control of your cravings, have bags of energy that lasts all day, ditch those minor health niggles, and look better than ever and enjoy soaring confidence. So if you're ready for all that, then stick with me. Okay, so working with me can potentially look a little bit like this. So to start with, I'll take a detailed look at your unique health history, going back even to before you were born, to ascertain which imbalances may be affecting you. Remember, to reach your health goals, you need to discover the real reasons behind your cravings so you can avoid any unnecessary, faddy and restrictive dieting in future. We may use functional laboratory testing. These tests look at how your body is functioning, so they're not really diagnostic tests as such like you would get from the doctor, but they will help give us an indication of what you've got going on. And this makes it so much easier for you to reach your health goals, as it totally removes any unnecessary work on your part. So commonly used tests include gut function tests, sort of very specific thyroid tests or hormone tests, stress function tests, things like that. Okay, step 3. So when we've done that, we'll use key foods, herbs and nutrients to repair any damage and restore any imbalances. And once this is done, you'll find it so much easier to choose whole, fresh foods that your body wants, and you will really, really notice those cravings start to disappear. Okay, the dance of the hormones. So as we've discussed, the hormones are like a really complicated formation dance, or, you know, like a bowl of soup. So if one aspect gets out of kilter, it will unbalance all the others potentially. So we really need to balance them and get them working properly together to regulate your weight, maximize your energy, and really ramp up your mood. So I'll take a really close look at yours and take steps to balance them and get them working together as they should, which will really maximize your vitality. And then from here, we can begin to fine tune by establishing which foods may be disagreeing with you and disrupting your delicate biological systems. And then finally, we will wave goodbye to craving-inducing cortisol by getting your stress levels under control with effective management techniques. Unfortunately, we can't avoid stress in today's world, but we can certainly learn how to manage it better. And step 7, by the time we've done all that, you're going to really love the new you, and we want you to stay that way. So I'll devise plans and menus for you going forwards, and strategies for holidays and celebrations, still in style, that will keep you right on track. Okay, so here's a few testimonials here from previous clients. So there's Emily. She had dreadful problems with her digestion, and she was really, really terrified. She didn't know what was going on. The doctor couldn't shed any light, but she did. We got to the bottom of what was going on. We brought her body back into balance, and then, you know, she was so happy, because she was really, really terrified about what was going on. And she can pretty much eat what she wants to now, and she's back to normal again. So one happy customer. And there was G, who was a real exercise fanatic, and she was putting on more and more weight. She couldn't understand why she was putting on so much weight, because she was still exercising. But we tweaked her diet a bit, and she's really, really happy now. She's back to where she was, and her outlook on life has really improved again. And then there was Tamsin. I mean, she's a real, very busy businesswoman, but she was really struggling because she had children, and, you know, she was really, she just wasn't herself. She wasn't making it through the day like she had done before. Her energy levels were really flagging. And we just looked at her diet and made a few quite kind of significant changes, and then she couldn't believe the difference it made. So then she was really focused on her work. She was managing to do everything that she needed to do to get through the day, and she was another happy customer. So that was all good. So that's just a few examples. So what would working with me look like? Well, my one-to-one coaching packages include coaching calls with me via Skype and FaceTime, so it doesn't matter where in the world you're situated, really. It makes no difference because we do it all online anyway. I offer unlimited email support, and I will do personalised recipes according to what you like and what you don't like, and meal plans, you know, all personalised. And I'll give you documents with all the action points. You don't need to worry about writing anything down. I'll do it all for you and email it off to you so you know exactly where you are. So if you feel like you would benefit from coaching with me, I offer a totally free of charge 30-minute new body breakthrough session. So if you just click on the link in the description, that will take you to my booking page. And in your new body breakthrough session, you will discover why previous diets and health plans may have failed in the past, and you will find out any blocks which may be in your way, and also find out how I can potentially help you reach your goals. Okay, so if you just click on the link which should be appearing in the description below the video, this will take you to my booking page. So you just click on next to the pink dot there, free 30-minute new body breakthrough session, and then select the day you'd like, and then select the time you would like, and fill in your details, and also add your Skype address in there as well, so I can contact you on Skype if need be, and then add it to your own calendar as well if you want to. Okay, so that's me, and I really look forward to speaking to you soon and helping you with some of your issues and questions you might have. So please feel free, really take advantage of this free half-an-hour session I'm offering, because I would really love to speak to you and help you out if I can. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and I shall hopefully speak to you soon. Thanks very much. Bye.